people can wait for us while I do this. So
They
if there's
always
any,
do.
they can wait. This is, this is worth it. This is worth it. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna put that here. Okay. So that's there. Now I'm going to share. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go to Facebook. And at some point, I really have to figure out, how I can stage this so that I can get it done in advance because I hate doing it like, while
Yeah,
we're
there
getting
must be a
ready to do it.
way.
There has to
Be a
be. There
way.
isn't on Facebook if you just do it as a Facebook one, but YouTube has to have those tools.
Ah, do you still put it on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Good.
So I put it on my page and then the Sync Summit page.
Okay.
Uh, join the almost done.
Oh, it's fine for me.
Oh, come on, machine. Don't do that. There we go. That's correct. Sync Cafe success. And there we go. And there we go. I can't put the direct link to the Zoom room here because if I do, what happens is that people who are, clicking the link randomly, like you'll have like 12-year-olds come in and start messing around. I actually had that happen back during COVID. So I'm like, you know what? We're not going to do that, even though I really would love to just put the direct link so they can just get in.
Uh-huh.
So I am putting this here and they can get that as soon as it decides to post. And then we're going to take that and we've got 29 people. How exciting.
Wow, this is good.
Yeah, you know what?
I
Anytime.
sent out a big flyer twice too. So, and I posted on LinkedIn and well, Facebook is useless, but I posted on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
it's
and I
really,
sent a flyer.
oh, that's great. It's really cool
Yeah.
because the thing is like the more people that we get coming to this, the more people we can teach how to do things a good
Yeah,
way.
I
But
agree.
also, the more chances we have to get them involved in other things we're doing, which is
Yeah,
also
which is
great.
great. Yeah, I
All right,
agree.
let me bring them in. Here we go. And then I'm going to press record as soon as I do that. Hey, everybody. All right. Well, everyone, we are so excited that you're here with us today. We've got a great audience, and we're going to be here for an hour because I have to jump on a call. Otherwise, we do our usual, I don't know, like however long we do things, but it's got to be an hour today. But we're going to have a lot of great information for you. And here with me is my guest. I almost want to call her my co host here because we just kind of roll like that, Michelle Weiss Maslin. Hello, how are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you, Mark. How are you?
I am doing great. I am really
Good.
excited to be here with everybody, and I'm excited to just go over with you and everybody here what I consider one of the most important conversations we can have, which is, the question that everybody wants to answer, like, how do you actually make contact with people and make contact in the right way? There is no silver bullet here, but we can tell you what works professionally and what if you send it to a music supervisor will make you seen as a professional. So that's one thing. And I think the other thing is Michelle and I have a lot of things that we've learned through the last couple of years that we've been in this business in terms of how to find people, how to get in touch with people. So we're going to get into all of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So, Michelle, I just wanted to start off with you. I think everybody knows us here, so we don't need to go into intros. But Okay, I will
Yeah,
do an
they can
intro.
just look us up, or you can look on like
Yeah. You know
credits and
what? They could just
accolades
look
and
us
all
up.
that
It's
nonsense.
we've
Yeah.
yeah, we've both got awards and stuff, and she's got a lot more than me, but we do lots of other things in music supervision all over the place. So we're going to bring that experience to you. So Michelle, you know, I feel like in the age that we live in today, we have some tools that we can use in terms of technology and some tools that are coming out that are interesting technical tools that I've seen or that I may be working on. But with all of that said, this is still, and I think it's going to remain a business where you're dealing with human beings and you have to work with human beings. Would you agree with that?
I agree with you 100%. All that technology does not take away from networking and making contacts with people, just like you're saying. Exactly. That's the way to do it.
Exactly. And I think, when it comes down to it, the technology can be your tool to help you to find people and to strategize on ways that you can connect with people more efficiently. But I feel like, when it comes down to it, probably like half of our conversation is just going to deal with how do you actually approach people and how do you talk to them once you've approached them and what do you not do?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
cool. So, Michelle, why don't we start with this? So, before we get into all of that stuff, what is the first thing that you should do, whether you're a musician, a aspiring sync agent, or even somebody that's looking to be a coordinator when you want to start to make a connection with people in this business?
Right. So it depends if you are, of course, a music creator or repping music creators. But the bottom line is first you have to have the goods. So if you don't
Exactly.
have great music, right? Because like the NSAI says, it all starts with a song. If you don't have master quality, radio ready, amazingly recorded, good music, then all of it is moot. But assuming we have that, right? Once we have that, then research, I would say, is the next thing we have to do, is
I,
imperative.
I think research is imperative, but I want to go back one step before that. And I think you're going to
Sure.
agree with my step. Because the first thing is you got to have the goods. And I'm so glad you said that because it's not said enough. You've got to have something that people will be attracted to. Now, it's not going to work for every music supervisor or every other decision maker because it's not just music supervisors out there. But if it works with enough of them, then you're going to get some success over time. That's number one. So, it's got to be ready you can't send out a demo. You can't send out something that is halfway done. And then the other part of that, of having the goods in this industry, is metadata. And
Yeah.
you've got to have good metadata. And I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes on that because, you know, we, Michelle and I have done classes together and separately on metadata. And the reason that we did this is because it's so important. A music supervisor, you might actually have a great piece of music. But if they see that the metadata is bad, incomplete, or missing, they're going to throw it away. That's the bottom line. And I don't want to see that happen to anyone.
Yes, I agree 100% with that. And that, of course, as for because I was looking around the room seeing who's here, and we have some people here who are older, and metadata didn't exist. And,
Yep.
for younger people, it's normal to understand this. But even for the older people, we didn't have to have this. You have to have this. You have to have your MP3s properly labeled. You have to have spreadsheets. You have to have metadata because if not, no one can find you. They used to be able to find you, but somehow they can't find you anymore, and they can't find your music, and they can't pay you. And so, yes, I agree with you that that is imperative with your great music. Yes.
Exactly. And the thing is that, yeah, if you go back 20 years, people are sending each other faxes and CDs and messaging over the metadata because you still needed metadata back then. And metadata is just basically, like Michelle said, you know, who do we pay? Who made this? Who owns this? How do we get in touch with you? And you think that, oh my gosh, this stuff may be obvious, but it's not. And when people are looking for music and they're, going through something, a year later in an inbox or in an external hard drive, or maybe on Disco. They're going to type in a search term and they're going to type in the type of music, the genre of music, the BPM, whatever the indicators are. And they might find your music through that. But if your contact information isn't there, and I've seen this happen a lot, then they're going to throw it out. They're just going to be like, I don't have time for this. They'll go to the next thing. They're not even going to listen to the music. So that's the other
Also,
part of the
they look
goods.
later, right? Because I
Yeah.
used to use Hightail before there was Disco, and
Yep.
I still get notices in my email, like a Hightail notice saying somebody who just listened to a song that I sent them 8, 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they find you is with the metadata, and they really do go back to music that they've already housed from so long ago. If you have your metadata correct and contact information.
And the other thing I'll say is that Disco cannot really help you on this. You
No.
know, what Disco does in metadata is it does tagging, and their tagging does not get transitioned over to the inside of your metadata in your MP3s. So if you're doing it on Disco, you have to open up metadata and fill that in separately. But even
Yes,
better,
we always do iTunes. Do you still do them
yeah, I
use
still
iTunes,
do
Apple Music?
iTunes.
That's what I do. And then it all is good. Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I still do that. I'm still going to
Hmm.
do that. iTunes
Hmm.
is the best thing, or Apple Music,
Apple
whichever way
Music,
you want to
right.
call it,
Yeah,
because everybody has a copy of Apple Music somewhere. So you can use that as a metadata editing tool. There are also other ones out there, but everybody has it. So I
yeah.
just say
And it's
use that.
free. It's
Yeah,
free. So, and it
yeah,
doesn't have a limit to how many songs you can have before they charge you more.
exactly. Unlike disco,
Right,
you can
right,
have you can have literally a million songs as long as you have a hard drive that's big enough,
right,
and it's free. You
right.
know,
Yeah,
and if you want to take a look at this, okay, I made this 4 years ago, but it's still valid. I have a metadata guide that you can use as a reference. I
yeah,
think that I have to update it at some point. There's a few things I want to optimize, but it will still give you the who, what, why, and where that will put you into being seen as a professional when somebody opens up your metadata.
right.
And it's by no means an exhaustive guide. When Michelle and I have taught together, we've gone really deep into stuff because honestly, you need to
Yeah,
if you really want to master it. But getting your metadata right with the basic information is the other part of this. All
yeah.
right, so now,
And then we need to research,
yes,
right?
then we need to research. That's the thing. And I want to start off the research, Michelle, just like you. I'll be quiet for a few minutes. I want to get your perspective because I think that you know, we've got to figure out what sector the person lives in first, in my mind. And then from there, we figure out, okay, so how do we get in touch with that person? That's my like top down approach. What about you?
Yes. So I people all the time are saying you can't cold call, you can't cold pitch. Well, that is not true. You can, and my star pupil here, Shake, is one to tell you she cold pitches all the time and has gotten, I don't know, are you close to 80 placements now in like 2 years or 2.5 years or something? More, she says more. So, it can be done. Cold pitching is the way to go, but we have to research. We have to know who we are targeting. So it could start with you're watching a TV show and you hear music that you think is something comparable to what you work on and you want to reach them. Okay, look in the credits. Who's the music supervisor? It's not listed. Go to what I use as a tool, which is IMDb Pro, the International Movie Database. And the
Yeah.
pro version, not the free version, because the free version is useless. And you subscribe to the pro version, spend the money, and you're going to find out who the music supervisor is, where the production is. Is it in post production? Is it finished? Did it happen 2 years ago? What's going on? So we're rattling through because Mark has to go. We have to go. But this is the way to find out for a TV show. Then you find out, okay, you see the name of the music supervisor. How do you contact them? Okay, I personally use the film and TV guide put out by the music registry that Rich Ezra put out. Rich has been a guest here from Mark many times. And this directory, the film and TV guide, is like the Bible. You can also, of course, use the internet and Google someone's name. I use LinkedIn all the time to connect with people. There are so many ways. You just have to you have good research skills and use common sense. Find someone's email. So if it's a film, right, then the film is done. But you can still find out who is the music supervisor, what are they working on now, and you can write them and say, I love what you did in Blade Runner, and I'm so excited about your new project, and I see that it's being filmed right now, and maybe you still need music, and you find out their contact information the same way you can find out video game directors and music supervisors. You can find advertising people, everybody. It's really actually easy to find people, right? So research is key. If someone's working on a production that's based in Nashville with country artists, you don't want to send them a heavy metal song. You don't want to burn bridges. So research for that too, for genre, is imperative.
100%. I agree with absolutely everything you're saying, Michelle. And, for me, first of all, musicregistry.net is the URL for Rich's guide. If you tell Rich that we sent you, I am 100% sure he's going to give you some kind of a discount. Number
Yes,
one,
yes,
he
yes,
will
he does.
definitely do
He
that
does. Yeah.
because we're all friends, and it's really a great resource. And
He doesn't give me a discount though. It's funny. He gives all my students discounts, but he doesn't give me a discount.
I do barters with him because that's the way he and I work together. But I give him something too. But I give it happily because he's a great guy.
Yeah.
But beyond the tools that Michelle mentioned, and first of all, I want to say before I get into the tools I'm going to mention, it really does start with research, who you're targeting, and what they're doing. IMDb Pro is a great first resource because the great thing is, unless it's an independent film or it's some YouTube creator, uh, it's going to be on IMDb. And there's going to be a music supervisor or a music editor attached to it. And that is your first connection into getting your music to a decision maker on that production. It will also tell you, as Michelle said, whether or not these productions are pre production, in production, or post production, or something that's been in the past. And that's really important for you not to waste your time on anything that's in the past that, say, Jen Malone has worked on. And you're like, hey, Jen, I'd really love to do something with you on Atlanta. And it's like, well, that ship has sailed a long time ago, so you don't want to make the mistake of coming to her with that.
Right.
Now,
Right.
with that said, I think that when you're looking for people in television and film, that's simple. The rule is the first resource is IMDb Pro, and then you can look on TuneFind, and then you can do a search on LinkedIn afterwards to try and find their contact information. Now, if you're looking for people in games, it's a little bit harder because some games are on IMDb Pro and some aren't. So it always is good to look for the companies that are producing the game. If it's Rockstar, if it's Microsoft, if it's Sony, they all have music departments. Activision, Blizzard, Riot Games. But if it's a smaller company, they may not. So you may have to do a bit more research. And then there's the advertising world. Advertising and brands are in a different category because there's no IMDb. And a lot of the time, it's not going to be the music supervisor who's going to be in charge of finding and placing the music. It's going to be somebody who's a creative director who's in charge of the entire direction of the ad. Or it could be a person called the brand manager who's the head of marketing for a particular brand or product. So what that means is that you first look for somebody musical within that agency or within that brand. If you don't find them, then you have to look for in places like Advertising Age and Advertising Week, who the people are who are working with certain brands and what agencies are working with certain brands. And then from there, you do a LinkedIn search for people around those projects and those brands and those products. And then you can start to come up with people that you can get in contact with. So advertising does take a lot more time. Now, with that said, there is a tool I wanted to show you guys today that I really just show usually for our classes, but I'm going to show it to you all here because, well, why the heck not? It's fun. And it is basically something that I really can't believe is legal, but it is. So we're going to use it. It's called Contact Out. And those of you who have been in my classes know what Contact Out is, but it's the greatest tool out there if you're trying to get in touch with people. And while I'm pulling this up, I am going to say something that Michelle said again, just to reiterate. People who tell you, oh, I don't take submissions, don't be scared of people saying that. Submit your music. You know, if they've got something that if you've got something that they need, they're not going to hold it against you. And if they don't respond or you don't have something that they need, who cares? You haven't lost anything. You know, people are trying to keep their inboxes from getting too filled, and I understand that. But don't let that be an encumbrance for you doing what you need to do to present your music out to people.
Yes, if
And
you put something in the subject line that entices them, they'll open it,
a hundred,
and if you catch them at a good time, and just to bring up my friend Shake here again, she makes phone calls. Now, I hate the telephone and don't even call my friends, but yeah, but Shake gets on the phone and says hi. And these people call her back and talk to her, maybe because no one uses the telephone anymore. And so, if you like being on the telephone like she does, you can do amazing things. I'm not going to do it myself, but it is an option that's really good.
So I'm going to show you something right now, and I'm doing a little tongue in cheek and who I'm going to get the contact information on. So I'm going to tell you all, maybe you want to junk mail this guy, maybe you don't, but you'll see who it is and you'll laugh when you say see who I say who I pull up. Okay, so now we are on Mikey Schulman's LinkedIn page. Mikey Schulman is the CEO of Suno. So I want to get in touch with this guy because I want to give him a piece of my mind. But let's say just more likely, you just want to get in touch with somebody and you don't know how to do it. Well, this is where Contact Out comes in. So basically, if you have Chrome, I don't use Chrome day to day, but I have Chrome for things like
I
this.
do. I use Chrome. Yeah.
There's a plugin that works for Mac and it works for PC. And it's free to use a limited amount per month. Other than that, it's like $99 for unlimited use. And for data mining, it is worth every penny. It is absolutely worth every penny because get this. We're going to take a look and see like Mikey here is not he's not a connection of mine. But what if I want to send him a text message? What do I do? I wonder if I can get his number. Hmm. No kind. Okay, he changed it. That's funny, but I do have his info. All right, so he changed it. He used to have his stuff here. But let's see here. But you can do this to try to find somebody's email as a last resort.
Yeah, if you click on contact information, if you connect with somebody too, a lot of times their information is there or their website. People have websites with contact information. So,
If they're a first area connection, but if they're
yeah,
not and you're
sure.
trying to find their info, this is how you do it. So here I was able to get, because I used Mikey Schulman and Suno.com, I was able to find his work email. So
Good.
even though he took down his mobile details, because I actually did like get in touch with him on his mobile a couple months ago for something else, but I wanted to show him here. Let's go to Udio then. Let's go to their rival. Or you know what? Let's go to, I don't know. I mean, most music supervisors I already know as First Connections. I'm trying to think of somebody who may not be a First Connection. Let's say Mountain Dew. Okay, Mountain Dew brand manager. Let's just say I want to figure out who that is. Let's look at people and see what comes up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I found this guy in Poland, right? Now, this is the woman who actually is in charge. I know her. Okay, even though we're not connected, I do know her. KG MacArthur. She's the marketing brand director at Mountain Dew. So she's the one at PepsiCo that is in charge of the Mountain Dew's brand marketing and in charge of whatever uh, music campaigns they have. So she is somebody I would actually want to get in touch with to connect music to them. Now, if I wanted to get in touch with her, you see this, even though her and I are third level connections, I was able to at least get an email here so I can get started. And what about a phone number? Well, I actually have a phone number here, and it's kind of scary because I think it's probably her mobile phone number. Um, I wouldn't be as cheeky as I am sometimes and text somebody on their mobile number. You know, her I might do because I know people within PepsiCo, and I can say, "Hey, I'm a friend of blah blah blah, and I want to talk to you about something." But normally, I would say that it makes much more sense for you to say, "Okay, now that I've got the email, I can go ahead and use that and send off something." So this is a powerful tool, and it's not, it's not something that I would say is something that is going to be something I would use every time. But if I'm looking for people, particularly in advertising and brands, I would go to this tool because a lot of the time it's hard to find those people's contact info.
Right. Yeah, it can. Right. But it can be
Yeah,
done. It really can be done.
it can be.
People have to
Yeah,
use common sense and search around, and you most people can be found.
I agree with you. Most people can be found. Some people really do hide themselves at the
Hmm.
end of the day, but the main thing is here, these tools and what we've told you so far are ways that you can really connect to people. And
Right.
yeah,
And let me just chime in because Paul is saying LinkedIn
please do.
charges to get the info, and no, they don't, Paul. If you connect with someone, you can get their info. They don't charge. You don't have to have a payable account on LinkedIn. If you are able to make a connection with the person and link with them, you might find their information. But even if
Exactly.
you and so they don't charge for that.
I'll show you an example. Well, I won't show you an example of that because I don't want to bring out the contact information of people who are on my first level. But basically, if you go to somebody's page, like if you add me, I'll add you as a LinkedIn contact, and then you'll be able to see the email that I have on LinkedIn, as well as whatever phone I have on LinkedIn, if you're a first level connection. It doesn't matter if you're a paid customer or not.
Right.
All that paid does on LinkedIn is, well, it does a few things, but one of the things that it does is it allows you to send prioritized in network email, in network messages to
But
people.
it caps you at an amount. So
Yes,
I
it does.
stopped doing it because it was useless for me because I would always go over and then they wouldn't send anyway. So
Yep.
I found paying was useless. But
I found the same exact thing. And that's why it's like, they keep on getting me to try, they keep on trying to get me to go back. But I'm like, if I'm going to spend
yeah,
$100 a month, I'll spend it on Contact Out, which I can use a
right.
thousand times if I want to. And that gets me the exact information I need to take the next step, which is making contact with somebody. So if we're to use all of these tools, and then from there, we go to the next step. The next step is, okay, so how do we reach out to somebody when we're presenting something for the first time? I think if you're answering a brief is fairly simple. The first question you have to ask yourself if a brief comes your way is, do I actually have music that fits what they're looking for? If you don't send them your music and hope that maybe they'll change their mind, because it doesn't work like that. I feel like, and you can tell me if you disagree with this, Michelle, it's okay to send to somebody if you get a brief, you know, I don't have anything that fits your search right now, but I do have this, and just leave a link there and say, Have a great day. I hope I have the chance to be of service. I would do that because it's an
I wouldn't do
opportunity to
it.
connect. No, you wouldn't do it?
No.
Okay,
No,
we
if
disagree on
someone
that, but you
yeah,
go
we
ahead.
disagree. If someone sends me a brief and I don't have anything, I don't write them at all because I don't want to waste their time. I don't take
Okay,
up their time with anything. I don't write them and say, thanks so much for sending this. I don't have anything. I have found that irritates them. That I'm already on their brief list. They know I exist. And next time, if I have something, I'll send it. So that's my opinion on that. I would rather cold pitch them at a different time the next week, a week later, and say, hi, just thinking of you. I have some a new song. Also, I believe if it's a cold pitch, only to send one song at a time, and I might send it to them. But answering a brief, no, I wouldn't do that.
you know
But
what? I'm gonna cede the point to you. I think you're right because I think in the real world, if I got it, as me personally, I would say, okay, thank you, and then I'd move it. I have a folder to move things to that if I'm on a search where it just kind of sits there that I'm not gonna look at. It's probably better to follow the approach that Michelle just gave because if I have something that I'm looking for right now, and you send me, hey, thank you for this. I don't have anything right now, but here's a link to music in case you need it later. I'm going to put it in the file that I almost never go to because that's what happens with that file. I move it to that file and I almost never go to it unless I'm doing a general search and something pops up. Whereas if you get in touch with me later and you say, "Hey, I just want to let you know I've been thinking about you. You've been doing a great job on this project. Here's some music I wanted to turn you on to that I've been making." That's it. That's actually a much better approach. So Michelle, you're absolutely right. I take your point. 100%.
Yeah, and also I personally believe, and the reason why I believe that I have had so many placements and records with major artists and all that kind of blah blah blah, is because I am super polite and I talk about them, right? And Shake is nodding here. We
Yep.
have learned this. I don't talk about me. They already know me. I'm pitching the music. They figure either I rep it or I write it. I don't have to sit there saying, I'm a songwriter. I write this. They already get that. I'm hawking music to them. I want to talk to them about them. I'm going to, first of all, make sure I say, thank you for your time. Because if I don't thank them for their time right at the top of my email or my note, they hate me. I'm going to thank them. I'm going to say, I know you're really busy. I'm going to say, I hope this finds you well. Because if I don't offer them any pleasantries and just go into what it is I want, they're going to delete or hate me. It's
Yep.
not a good thing. What I'm going to do is write, I read that you just won an Emmy. That is so awesome. I watched that show, Shake and Bake, and I love it. I remember something in an episode. I'm going to write about them. I saw that you just had a baby.
Mhm.
Congratulations. I am only going to talk about them for a minute. And after I talk about them, I'm going to say, I'm so excited to send you this song that I believe in for NCIS. That's how I'm going to approach them. I'm going to talk about them. If you don't I hate when anybody writes me and they don't ask me how I am. I hate when they're asking me for help and advice and they don't thank me for my time up front. If you wait till the end of your email, I've hated you already. Okay, I'm really tough and I'm going to tell you like it is. Why is Shake successful here? Because she does that. She knows how to be pleasant and polite and make people want to do business with her, help her, be nice to her. The other way does not work. And mostly I get emails that say, hey, these are not your friends. Don't say hey, right? Dear, hello, hi, but don't say hey. Make sure you personalize everything. Personalize it in the subject line. Hi, Mark. Hi, Mark. I'm so excited to share this song with you. If you don't, they're going to think it's spam and they're going to just eliminate it. You can't just write, hey, I do this, I do this, I do this, help me. Because people do that all day long to me.
A
They,
hundred percent.
and they obviously didn't research because they're pitching me songs to use for my projects, and I'm a music producer and a songwriter. right? So doing research and being polite and offering these pleasantries, this is going to get you farther ahead than the best song. Someone next to you might have a better song, better recorded, more apropos for the project, but you know what? They didn't make that A&R person, that music supervisor, that producer, that showrunner, and the director feel important and worthy. They just talked about themselves. So that's what I'm harping on.
Well, I'm going to harp on that a little bit more because
Good.
I am with you 100%. And I will tell you, like, one of the most important books that was ever given to me was when I was starting my career, and I had a boss who gave me this old copy of How to Win Friends and Influence People from Dale Carnegie. And yeah, the language in it is even back then, like 40 years ago, it was a little like, old timey, but that doesn't matter. The point of it is that you have to appeal to somebody's self interest. You have to say from the beginning of a letter, beginning of a conversation, when you're trying to build a relationship and get somebody to do something, with a comment, a paragraph that gives them approbation and praise in an earnest way, and also appeals to their self-interest. Because if there's anything I can tell you, everybody likes to be recognized for the awards that they've gotten, for the work that they've done, and they like to hear their name. And this means everybody from the age of 3 up, everybody. So when it comes down to it, when you take that next step after you've done all of this stuff and you're writing an email or you're connecting to somebody, you've got to start off with saying, hi. Okay, I'll just use Nora Felder. Okay, she's a friend of mine, whatever. Hi, Nora. I really have to tell you, you must have I really feel like you must have the wind in your sails after what's everything that's gone down with the Duffer Brothers and Stranger Things. You have created some of the most iconic moments in streaming television and in media, period. And I've got to salute you for that. And if I can be of any assistance in anything that you're doing moving forward, please allow me to have that opportunity. By the way, I'm working on some new stuff now. I wanted to turn you on to it. Here's a taste. And then you give a link, and then you say, Nora, again, I really love everything that you do. Thank you so much for bringing the wonderful things to life that you do. And that's it. And if she gets something like that, believe me, it doesn't even matter if it's Nora. It could be, it could be Chris Molaire. It doesn't matter. But you see this and you're like, oh my God, they actually cared. They actually know what I'm doing. That is so cool. Doesn't matter what level somebody's at. And I think that this appeals to every single person because when I get an email, like I will tell you, there's somebody who's a musician who basically bootstrapped herself up. I don't think she's really doing it that much anymore, but she bootstrapped herself up to being very successful. And she went out there, got in touch with me, got in touch with hundreds of music supervisors by going to events, by going online. Took her about 3 years. But how did she start her emails? She did this. She was like, Mark, we haven't met in person yet. I'm going to be attending one of the events you're doing, but I just want to tell you that I think that if you've done such an amazing job bringing the world together and bringing sync opportunities to people. When I got that, I was like, first of all, I'm like, I say thank you. But second, the little 3-year-old in me is like, oh, you've got my attention now. What do you want? It's a very different thing than if it's like, hey, Mark, I make modern jazz music with electronic instruments. I'm like, okay, that's cool. What am I going to do about that? It's basically like dealing with a 101 with people. And at the end of the day, this will take you a long way getting from, and I haven't been ignoring the conversation between you and Paul. This will get you a long way from going into the unsolicited, staying in unsolicited and going to solicited. It may take you a year, it may take you 2 years, but if you make a concerted effort and you're politely persistent with people, you're not saying to them, hey, I sent you music 2 weeks ago. Did you have a chance to listen to it yet? Like nobody likes that. It feels like, you're the assistant principal asking them why they haven't gone back to class yet or something. Nobody
Yeah,
wants that. But if you get in
yeah,
touch with them on a regular basis and you say, hey, I want to turn you on to something new that I'm doing. Or, hey, I saw what you did, going back to your point, Michelle. I saw what you did there, and you really deserved getting that GMS award. You know, that's all it
This is
takes.
great advice. I love it. Thanks.
You're welcome, Paul. These
Yeah,
little things can help
if
you.
I could just say one little quick thing, I definitely in the music business when I was deep in it in Hollywood in the 80s and 90s, I left it. Now it's a totally different business. It's not the same people. It's all film people. So it's breaking into a whole nother business. So you're back at square one.
See, and I
Exactly.
have to disagree, Paul. I've been doing this since the 70s, so I've been doing this forever, okay? And I disagree. It's still a relationship, a world of relationships
Always.
and
Yep.
Yeah.
business. The music supervisors are music people. They're not usually film people. Even and pitching is pitching, whether you're pitching to A&R or you're pitching to a manager or a music project or film and TV. So I don't really agree with that. I know people like to use that as an excuse to make that things are so different, but really,
They're not different. They're just
that's
different
pitching.
people. Right.
Yeah, but so
They're
what? You
they're
have
not
to
the
make
same people. They're not the A&R that I used to visit
well,
at
make new
Capitol
people.
and Atlantic Records and Sony.
Make
These are
new people.
different businesses, different people out there. So
So what? But there's new people every day.
yeah, I know.
Indeed.
I'm not being negative about it. I'm just saying that if you have years of experience like I have in the music business as an entertainer, then you go over to the sync business, they don't match up. You know, it's not like you can get contacts that much unless you find the right people in the music business that use it, you know, for film. But
The key is to make new contacts all the time.
You
The
have to
yeah,
key
keep
is
making
to
new
network,
contacts. Yes.
yes, all the time. People pass away, sadly. People retire. People move on. The key is to stay current. And plus, sometimes people have more success with people they cold pitch you they don't know at all, rather than people who see them in one light and now they're switching to their focus.
yeah,
So,
this is really
so
different because you're doing something where you're knowing what they're working on. See that, and that doesn't usually happen in the music business. You know, you find out a little bit about what they're working on, but you may not have a song for that artist or a band for that label. You may have something else going on later that fits it. But again, it is relationships, and you know, I'm looking forward to it because I have a lot of fun with it. That's the whole reason I'm here is because I'm retired now and I have nothing else to do. And I love taking my music and shopping around people and talking about shucking and jiving with what's going on. I just love doing that. Again, even though I don't live in Hollywood, I wish I did. So, if, you know, but
that makes no difference anymore. You don't have to live in
Well,
yeah,
Hollywood.
yeah,
Makes
I know.
Mark doesn't
See,
live in Hollywood. You don't have to live in Hollywood.
and you don't, and for
yeah,
the advertising side, you don't need to live in New York. You know,
Right.
I will
Exactly.
tell you something. When it
yeah,
comes down to it, audio, the world of audio visual, okay, I'm not going to say the world of sync because we use sync as a catch-all term, but I like to say the world of audio visual entertainment and production because that's really what we're living in. In that world, everybody that's in it is a creative person on some level or another. Even the brand managers that I talked about, they're still creative people. Everybody has
Cause
some
I'm
sort.
hot like this, walk like this, talk.
Okay, that was interesting, Adam Smeaton. Okay, I'm not sure if
sample that and use it. Oh no, I got to make a new song.
I'm not sure if that was by mistake or if they are going to pop in again and I'll have to ban them. I think they just did that as a mistake. So anyway, moving on from that,
Thank you
you
so
know,
much, guys.
oh, of course, Paul. But at the end of the day, you know, people are creative people and they may not understand the ins and outs of music, but they understand the objectives of the project or the brand or the product that they're working on. And that's the way that you can look at it as a musician is how do you connect these people your music to these people's projects in a way that helps them to do their work better. That's the basic way
Right,
that you can
because
look
we're
at it.
serving them.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
Exactly,
service
Mark.
business.
Paul,
It's not
can
the
you
music
mute?
business.
Paul,
The music business is different.
can you mute now, Paul? Thanks.
yeah, we're
Sure.
going to go
Okay.
back to
Thank
it.
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So yes, Mark is exactly correct. We are in the business of service. This is a service business. Yes.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you know, the things that really work are, you know, doing everything that we said, and we're saying this because we've used these techniques ourselves. You know, we're not just saying it because it's just something that, you know, sounds nice. We've used all of these techniques that we're talking about ourselves, And the second thing that I would say is that when you can, and you can do this a lot, go to an event, okay? And I don't just mean in person, okay? I'd love you to go to events in person. I do events online and in person. And if you want to go to one of my events, that's the link. There's the next three events there at that link. And it gives you a little preamble there. But we've got two in LA, one in New York coming up in the next 5 months, one in 2 weeks in LA. And that gives you an opportunity to make a direct connection with somebody, and that is very meaningful. Also, online events give you an ability to connect with somebody directly. It's not quite as good, but it gives you an ability to hear from people what it is that they do, what it is that they are looking for, what is their process, and that will help you in terms of figuring out how you can connect with that person. So the online ones can be very helpful. But on top of that, you're just going to have to say to yourself, as Shakia said, when she quoted me, and thank you for doing that, it's a marathon, not a sprint. There was one artist, and I always pull this up, that I love, who I've known for a long time. It took 10 years before we got a sync for him. And he's a pretty major artist in his region of the world, but it ended up being a very, very big sync. So we were all happy, but it took 10 years. And if I gave up the first time a music supervisor was like, you know what, it's nothing special, that would have been it for me. And I never would have gotten the bigger opportunity for all of us, and that only happens if you believe in what you're doing and you're politely persistent and you appeal to the self-interest of the person, and keep in mind that a music supervisor is looking for music to help them to complete the emotion and the mood or the sales potential of a particular project. Sales potential if it's advertising trailers, but for everything else, it's heightening the storytelling. That's what the objective is. So you always have to look at it from that perspective and what you're doing to help that person. And I believe in everybody's ability to do this, because if you stay in it over time, there's a usage for music for every genre.
Yeah, and let me add to that. I pitched a song to Alex Patsavis, and it took her 28, no, 35 years to use a song of mine. And the song
Yep.
was 28 years old that she ended up using. So she had gotten it 28 years previously. She still had the song, and it took me 35 years of pitching. And Sam Diaz, it took me 30 years of pitching to him till he finally used something. And I mean, I'm not saying we all have all those years left and want to do that, but like Mark is saying, it can take some time. So you just have to establish the relationships and keep pitching to them. And as long as they're not telling you to stop pitching to them, it's fine. And eventually they
100%.
might use something. Yes. Yes. And we're also pitching volume. I mean, I have like 3,500 music supervisors on my mailing list. I mean,
Yep.
I'm sending the same song individually to all these people, so if you have a smaller list, it won't take you as long. But that's how you do it. You don't just send. A lot of people say, well, I wrote this one music supervisor 2 years ago and they never wrote back. And then they never pitched anything else. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, and you can't only pitch to one person. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you've got to do, and I have a tool that I'm building right now that's going to help you to cross-reference your music with music supervisors to see who maybe would be most likely to have your music resonate with what they do, and that can help. But with that said, focusing on one music supervisor because you like their projects, like, oh, I love what Brian Rose is doing with Emily in Paris, but I make electronic dance music. I'm going to think, you know what? Yeah, maybe there'll be a usage in a season of that project, but you're going to be better off if you expand your horizons, because there's a whole world out there of opportunity. And also, you have no idea how many more seasons that thing's going to be around. It might end this season. and then the next thing that she's doing is completely different, you know, and that's, you know, for me, the lesson to say that you cannot get too obsessed with any one music supervisor and their projects, because that's not a winning strategy as a business person. The winning strategy as a business person is to build your network, make a wide reach out there, and keep on putting things out to them, because that's what creates responses from them, where they give you a chance to submit something. That's where you can start to build a relationship. And I mean, I don't know, you've probably had this experience, Michelle, but once you start to have a relationship with somebody and something worked out really well, then they're going to be like, so tell me, Michelle, like, what else are you working on? You know, I've got this project coming up that I think could be really cool for some of your stuff. And then you start to get into a groove with that person, and
That has
that's where
happened
that
countless
magic
times.
happens. Yeah.
You are absolutely right. That has happened countless times. Shake knows that because she's getting recurring companies coming back to her for music for other projects. So, exactly, making the connection is so important. And also, to let me add to that with Shake, she also approaches the directors, the producers, the showrunners, and I only suggest that if you can't find the music supervisor, because some projects don't have music supervisors if they're
Yeah.
smaller projects. If you go over the music supervisor's head, you will get your head cut off. But if there is no music supervisor on a project that you can find listed, you can for sure. I've pitched and had success pitching to directors of films and producers and showrunners of TV shows and ad executives many times. So
Yeah.
you just have right, but your head will go. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can't go over someone's head, but you can visit smaller projects that don't have music supervisors.
100%. And you know, the thing that I'll say is like, okay, if you know Vince Gilligan personally, sure, send him music, all right?
Right.
Thomas
Yeah.
Globich isn't going to bother you. But if you don't know Vince Gilligan and you get in contact with him, and it's very easy to find out that Thomas Globich is the music supervisor for all his projects, he's going to be like, hi, Thomas, did you hear this song? They'd be like, no. Oh, somebody sent it to me. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure Vince isn't going to listen to it. He's probably going to just toss it away. But even if he does listen to it, he'll send it to Thomas, and it's going to be like, oh, is this somebody you know? Oh, no, it's somebody who just sent me some music. It'd be like, eh. You know, it's not going to go well for you. And you don't want that, because if a music supervisor, especially on a high level, you know, gets rubbed the wrong way, it's not just going to be them. It's going to be a knock-on effect where they're going to be like, "Oh, did you hear from this guy?" There are things like in Sync This, which is there's a group called Sync This, which is a closed group that Michelle and I both belong to. But basically, there are certain people will talk about, "Oh, did you get a pitch from this one? Oh my God, again, blah blah blah," and then they just start to talk to each other. You don't want to be that example in the closed user group. So never, you know, never go above their heads. Never send them something that's going to really annoy them. That's really important, because you know, the opposite of like, hey, you can get into a groove with somebody if you really like show them value, is that you can really be on the outs with somebody without really doing that much wrong. You know, it's a crazy thing.
Yeah, they you can piss them off in 2 seconds. I mean, you don't even know how it happened or why it happened, or it's happened for me, and you're like, wow, I didn't mean that at all, and I don't know what you're talking. But sometimes, they're very touchy, and you can really upset them. So, you know.
And I will say there are some people who I've had that happen to, where the relationship switched back again and we're the best of buddies, and some other people where it's just like, all right, we just don't like each other. That's fine. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And
I'm
you
gonna
don't
just
you
move
don't
on.
even know why. Yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
you don't, but you have right, that's why you shouldn't get bogged down, like Mark was saying, to
that's the whole
one
point.
person.
Yeah.
Right, because some people just are not going to be receptive to some of us for whatever reason that is, you know?
That is fine. And
Yeah.
that's fine, because it is a big world out there, and there are going to be lots of people that you can connect to. So, you know, you got to believe in yourself and believe that your music will hit projects that will that will connect to it. Now, okay, there were a couple of questions here. All right, that we haven't answered yet. Okay, put a link to your class. Okay. Well, I will say, Michelle, maybe you and I might do something this fall. I'd like to.
Yeah,
We'll
that would
talk
be
about it.
amazing.
But
Yes.
yeah, we haven't done a class in a while, and I feel like it's time to work together. So that may be coming up.
Yes.
Um, but Michelle, if you want to give a plug to anything that you're doing separately right now,
Sure.
please
So,
do.
so I give a course called From Song to Sync and More.
Yep.
It's and more because it's not only about sync, it's about pitching to Broadway and pitching to artists for major label artists and music publishing and
Yep.
everything. And I can put that link in the chat as soon
Please
as I
do.
find it. And actually, quite a few people here today have taken my course. So that's really wonderful to see you guys here. And I feel that most of my students are getting placements and cuts, and they've started music libraries themselves, and they've become sync agents and just managers. And so it's not only for music creators. So yes, and I will find that link and put it in here. And thank you, Mark.
Of course, of
But
course.
Mark and I have taught some classes together that have been amazing, and if we do one soon, which I hope we do, it will be
I hope we do too.
doubly amazing.
I
Yeah.
think that we probably will end up mapping out a course that we're going to teach together soon because we actually work well as a team. We fill in areas that, of expertise between the two of us that give people, I think, a really good holistic value.
Yes.
And, one of the things that we're doing, you can look at all of the things that I have on my website, of course, but one of the things that I'm doing right now is that we've opened up just until the 27th because I closed this down, but I opened it up for 1 week. Access to enrolling in our membership program, which is basically you sign up for the membership program, and what happens is that you get access to all the listening sessions, all the events online or in person, and whatever classes that we're giving for an entire year. And if Michelle and I do something, you will get that class basically for half off. So I will not charge you for whatever that fee is if you're a member of our program. So you get to save a lot of money with that. And I encourage you to take a look at it because I'm probably not going to bring back that program again after this week because it's very labor intensive for me. It includes consulting and stuff, but you can go here. So that's my plug of the day. There you
Yeah, and
go.
I put mine in the chat. What is most
Perfect.
imperative here is you get educated.
Exactly.
Whether
Whether
wherever
it's
you
us or
do it,
someone else.
right. If you
Yeah.
don't get educated, you are going to fall on your face. And that is the most important thing. When the music supervisors ask you questions and you can't answer them, when an A&R person asks you a question and you don't know the answer, why? Because you don't know anything about music publishing and you don't know anything about metadata and you don't know anything about writing a good letter. All these things will make you fall on your face. So just make
Yeah.
sure you get educated, right?
At the very least, pay attention to what we're saying about metadata. Okay?
Mhm.
Pay attention to all of it because we have fought these battles. We have learned. We have worked. I've worked as a music supervisor, and once in a while I still do, but I've also mostly worked in the trenches, either working with artists or working with companies. And the one thing I can tell you is that everything that we talked about in terms of persistence and preparation and pitching is what's going to get you success in the long run. Full stop.
Right.
You
Because it
know,
can be done. It can be done. If you make excuses, it won't happen. It can be done. If you have, going back to our beginning today, if you have the goods, if you have great recorded, great music that fits what they're looking for, they don't care if you're famous. They don't care if you have songs on Spotify. They don't care if you have a fan base. They don't care about
nope.
any of that. I have released 39 self released songs in 2010, but I get thousands of placements. Nobody cares. I don't release the songs because I don't have time and I don't make any money from it, so it's a waste of time. You can get a major label artist to record your songs if you make friends with an A&R person. I've been hired 5 times in hot tubs at hotels just from chatting with people. There is opportunity everywhere on the supermarket line. I sat on an airplane last Saturday next to a woman whose daughter is on the Clive Davis music program. Who would think, right? If this was a Dallas flight, not an LA flight. And the girl is amazing, okay? And is doing great things. And you never know where you're going to connect with somebody and have a connection. So
Yeah.
just learn about the business so that you can promote yourself well, and it can happen. But any negativity, any excuses are going to destroy your karma and your chances, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Excuses are going to hold you back,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And, to your point, you can get serendipity. I mean, like I did a while ago, I met like some head of marketing at Boeing when I was on a flight going from LA to New York. And like we ended up doing something together, on the brand side. You never know where it's going to happen. It could happen in one of these sessions, frankly.
Right,
It can
right.
happen. It can happen anywhere. But at the end of the day, polite persistence and preparation in pitching is what's going to get you success.
Right.
And
And it doesn't matter if you have accolades, and it doesn't matter if you're already successful.
yep,
Because the playing field is equal, because a lot of people, Mark might go, hey, Michelle has some great songs for blah, blah, blah. And they go to Mark, yeah, I know Michelle. What else do you have?
yep,
What do you
exactly.
have that's new? I know Michelle forever. People know me forever. They know Mark. Sometimes they're not interested in that. They want to
Yeah,
find something new. And so if you're new, that could work to your advantage. So don't think that because someone else and they have all these accolades that means they're going to have an advantage over someone who doesn't. That's not
100%.
true at all, right? All
I
the
couldn't
music
agree with you more.
supervisors like to talk to each other and the A&R people about who they discovered. You know,
Yeah.
oh wow, I discovered this person, Scott Sam, the other day. Did you hear this artist? This artist is amazing. They chat.
When I sit with my friends and we do like music talk on the music supervision side, we are like going into this stuff. And, like I have a friend of mine, she's like a major music supervisor in Canada. We do a lot of stuff together. But, her and I are on the phone and we're talking about business. And then, of course, it goes into like 45 minutes of just drilling down into music. And I'm like, you have got to hear this new shit that I've heard. It is so fucking cool. And then we just start getting into it and playing music for each other like we're 15-year-olds. That's what ends up happening. You want to kind of get yourself into that conversation. But you need to also remember, this is the point that I'm making, is that people, for the most part, who are in this world love music. Even the ones who are not music people, but especially the music supervisors, but even creative directors, even brand managers, they want to be seen as understanding creative. And, if you can get them excited about what you're doing and they'll start talking about it, they'll talk about it to all of their friends. And the next thing you know, you're going to get something. And this has happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to you, Michelle, where somebody that you've never met goes, hey, I was talking to blah, blah, blah. And they said that I should listen to your music. So I listened to it and I could use it for blank. So let's talk. That happens all the time.
All the time. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. All the
Yeah.
time.
So
Yes.
never not believe in yourself, but remember the fundamentals.
Yes.
All right, everybody. So I've got to go and I've got to go and shift gears. Speaking of Canada, I've got to get on the phone with a Canadian artists to talk to them about keynoting an event. So we'll
Oh,
see if that
good.
happens. Yes,
Congratulations. And
somebody
maybe,
everybody knows, but it's not a done deal yet. So I have to go on that call now.
okay.
Okay, everybody. See you later, Michelle. I'll be in touch.
Thanks for coming.
Thank
Yeah.
you. This was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you